secret cover-up. The whistleblower complaint sending shockwaves through Washington, accusing President Trump of soliciting foreign interference in the 2020 election, and White House officials of covering it up by trying to lock down all records of that call with the president of Ukraine. The president's furious reaction, and the new leaked tape where he wishes harm on the people in the White House who revealed what he said to the whistleblower.
That's close to a spy. You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? With spies and treason, right? We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
Winter storm warning as the first major winter storm of the season moves in. Parts of the country bracing for whiteout conditions and up to 4 feet of snow.
Vaping crisis. The alarming new numbers, more than 800 cases across the country. The huge surge in just 1 week.
Triple E warning. High schools across the country forced to reschedule outdoor activities. Friday night football games moved to daylight as cases of the deadly mosquito-borne virus rise from Michigan to Massachusetts.
Missing money mystery. The Delta Airlines baggage handler arrested, accused of stealing nearly $300,000 right from the tarmac. But the question this morning, where is that cash?
And from the floor to Super Bowl 54. J-Lo now set to take center stage at the halftime show with superstar Shakira. What they're revealing now about the 2020 Super Bowl show.
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning, America. Happy Friday to everybody out there. And what a show that will be. J-Lo and Shakira in Miami for Super Bowl 54. We were talking about Cecilia. She's like, oh, the hips don't lie.
I'm so ready. Every Latino in the country is ready with that lineup. We are super excited about that. But first, we do want to get right to the latest on the White House and the whistleblower. The complaint now revealed showing President Trump tried to pressure Ukraine to interfere in the 2020 election, and that complaint alleges the White House tried to cover it up.
The president cornered and furious right now. He unloaded on his staffers who cooperated with the whistleblower.
I want to know who's the person that gave the whistleblower? Who's the person that gave the whistleblower the information? Because that's close to a spy.
Went on to say, you know how he dealt with spies in the past. That veiled threat from the president was met by nervous laughter at the UN. Inside the White House, confusion and worry after that explosive complaint that has created their biggest political battle yet. The impeachment threat is real. How fast it will go, how far it will go, 2 big questions this morning. And our senior congressional correspondent, Mary Bruce, starts us off from Capitol Hill. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, the revelations in this whistleblower complaint have now supercharged the impeachment fight here on the Hill. This investigation is now squarely focused on these allegations, and Democrats here want to move quickly. Some even telling us they want a vote on impeachment before the end of the year.
The President of the United States has betrayed his oath of office, betrayed his oath to defend our national security.
This latest gambit by the Democrats to overturn the people's mandate is unhinged and dangerous.
This morning, the whistleblower complaint that sparked this controversy is sending shockwaves through Capitol Hill.
Do you solemnly swear?
At the first major showdown of the new impeachment inquiry, the acting director of national intelligence, Joseph McGuire, defended the whistleblower.
I think the whistleblower did the right thing. I think he followed the law every step of the way.
You don't have any reason to accuse them of disloyalty to our country or suggest they're beholden to some other country, do you?
Sir, absolutely not.
In the complaint, the whistleblower claims multiple U.S. government officials informed him that the President of the United States is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. election. Referring to that July phone call where, according to the White House summary, the president asked his Ukrainian counterpart to investigate his political rival, Joe Biden. The whistleblower was not a direct witness to most of the events described, but says the White House officials who told me this information were deeply disturbed by the call and the likelihood that they had witnessed the president abuse his office for personal gain.
Is it okay for a president to pressure, any president, to pressure a foreign government for help to win an election? It is unwarranted, it is unwelcome, it is bad for the nation to have outside interference.
And the whistleblower goes on to allege that senior White House officials tried to cover it up, writing that they intervened to, quote, lock down all records of the phone call, especially the official word-for-word transcript. that they were, quote, directed by White House lawyers to put that transcript in a separate electronic system typically used for classified information, and that this was not the first time under this administration that a presidential transcript was placed there solely for the purpose of protecting politically sensitive rather than national security sensitive information.
Mr. McGuire, do you agree that the definition of a cover-up is an attempt to prevent people from discovering a crime?
I'd say that's close. I mean, I'm sure there's others one, but I don't disagree with that, sir.
The whistleblower complaint was submitted to the intelligence community's inspector general, who determined it was credible and of urgent concern. But the acting director refused to forward the complaint to Congress. Instead, he called the White House.
So you went to the White House first. So you went to the subject of the complaint for advice first about whether you should provide the complaint to Congress.
There were issues within this, a couple of things. One, it did appear that it has executive privilege. If it does have executive privilege, it is the White House that determines that.
But in this case, the White House, the president, is the subject of the complaint.
Republicans were quick to denounce Democrats, but they offered little defense of the president's actions. And now a growing number within Trump's own party are voicing concerns.
I want to say to the president, this is not okay. That conversation is not okay. And I think it's disappointing to the American public when they read the transcript.
Now, even Director McGuire says he does not know who this whistleblower is. And when pressed repeatedly, he refused to say whether he's discussed this matter at all with the president, saying only that their conversations are privileged. But we do know that the president was watching some of this hearing, and George, he was clearly not happy about it.
And up and tweeting again this morning. Okay, Mary, thanks very much. Cecilia?
Okay, George, you mentioned this at the top of the show, that new video showing President Trump's furious reaction to the whistleblower complaint. It happened during a closed-door event right here in New York. Our senior national correspondent, Terry Moran, is at the White House with more on this. And Terry, boy, what the president said in that room stunned even people in there.
It did, Cecilia. Some people gasped, some people laughed. The president is venting his frustration and anger behind the scenes in front of cameras. He can't believe he's got to deal with another impeachment threat. So the White House is gearing up, and they are staffing up for this long legal and political challenge ahead.
We're at a war. These people are sick. They're sick.
This morning, a new video obtained by Bloomberg News shows President Trump trashing the whistleblower's sources during a closed-door meeting with the staff at the U.S. mission to the UN.
I want to know who's the person that gave the whistleblower? Who's the person that gave the whistleblower the information? Because that's close to a spy.
At one point, Trump even seems to suggest he wishes he could resort to capital punishment.
You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? The spies and treason, right? We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
Overnight, the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, attempted to handle this latest controversy, defending the president and himself and doubling down on claims that his efforts to pressure Ukrainian officials to investigate the president's political opponents were facilitated by the State Department.
The whistleblower falsely alleges that I was operating on my own. Well, I wasn't operating on my own. I went to meet Mr. Zelensky's aide at the request of the State Department. 15 memos make that clear.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo defended his department's actions.
To the best of my knowledge, and from what I've seen so far, each of the actions that were undertaken by State Department officials was entirely appropriate and consistent with the objective that we've had certainly since this new government.
As President Trump returned to Washington for the first time since the launch of the formal impeachment inquiry, his frustration was on full display.
I just watched a little bit of this on television. It's a disgrace to our country. It's another witch hunt. Here we go again.
And the president also seemed to reveal his potential strategy to combat this investigation.
There should be a way of stopping it, maybe legally through the courts, but they're going to tie up our country.
So you hear there the president already threatening legal action. Expect a lot of court battles over whether members of the administration can be compelled to testify, over a claim of executive privilege, over the production of documents as well. There's one thing for certain, though. The president can slow down impeachment, but he can't stop it. It's in Congress now. George.
Okay, Terry, thanks very much. Let's talk to our contributors now. Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, former mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel. And Chris, let me begin with you. Your last year on Tuesday, before we had seen the memo of the president's phone call, you said if he had said to the Ukrainian president, do me a favor, look into Biden, it would be a serious problem turns out that's exactly what he said.
Listen, you know, the bottom line, George, is that that's the way he is. That's the way he talks. As I said to you, we're off air. You know, maybe I was even channeling, you know, the way I normally hear him speak. I think in the end,
channeling your inner Trump.
No, I was channeling him. No inner Trump here. But what I'd say to you is that he is convinced, absolutely convinced, that there's absolutely nothing wrong with what he said. And that he was said in the context of the entire corruption problem in Ukraine. That's his position. So no one should expect that he's going to say anything differently over the course of time.
But you didn't hear Republicans yesterday on Capitol Hill agreeing with that. You didn't hear defense of what the president was doing.
I'm saying the two things at the same time, George. You know, I said what I said on Wednesday. I'm telling you what the president is saying. And what the president's saying is perfect conversation. No problem. That's going to be his position. And here's the problem for the Democrats on this, is that when Adam Schiff does what he did yesterday, it doesn't help their cause. When he starts the hearing by kind of making up dialogue that he wishes would have happened between the president of Ukraine and the president of the United States, you know, it makes the whole thing look like a circus. That's helpful to Trump, not helpful to the Democrats' cause.
You've been on both sides of this. You were in the White House defending during President Clinton's impeachment. You've been a member of the House Democratic leadership. How should the Democrats act going forward as they push on impeachment?
Two things. One, there's 5 C's you got to keep in order. There's a call, there's coercion, there's a cover-up, there's a complaint, and there's a computer. Follow each of those streams. Be steady, studious, and strategic in your approach. And whatever you do, do not prejudge the judgment of the American people. And if you put the politics in front of the approach, you're going to run into trouble. That's what happened in '98.
So just the facts.
Just go to the facts on each of the streams. The call, the coercion part, the cover-up part, the computer part, and the complaint part. And if you do that and do it steady and just get the material out, then, and I think Nancy Speaker Pelosi being reluctant and then all of a sudden coming to this, and she's done it as an institutional. If you try to put politics ahead of the policy, you'll get caught, and that's what happened in '98 to the Republicans.
On the third C right there, cover-up. That could end up being, as it almost always is in these situations, a far more serious charge here.
Well, listen, I think there's no doubt that you got to get to, if you're the White House, to me, job one today is to get to the third C. If there's something there, and we don't know, it's second and third hand information from a whistleblower, but it's pretty specific
deemed
stuff.
Credible by the Inspector General.
Right, but it's pretty specific stuff, but you don't know what's behind it. Who are the White House lawyers? Who are the White House senior officials? We've gone through this before, right? But if I were there, I'd be saying to them, Project One, find out what that is. Find out what that is, because if you want to reveal it. If there's something there, you want to reveal it. You don't want to hear it on Capitol Hill.
Here's the thing I would say. That is of the 5 C's. I would pursue this. But we learned something yesterday. This is not the first phone call or first foreign leader that's ever been put away in that computer. And that computer is not for the president's family treasures. So don't go chasing it. Stay steady on this piece. But there is other material in that computer which is not used in the national security in the Situation Room for the presidential phone calls. That's for the most important intelligence material.
Isn't that the biggest danger now for the president? You're getting at it in your answer. What we don't know about what happened.
And here's the thing. He can't not know. Okay? If you're the guy in charge, you got to say to people, I need to know everything so I can make judgments on what to do. And here's the problem with yesterday. The problem with yesterday was they did the exact opposite in the Intel Committee yesterday of what Rob's recommending. What Rob's recommending is smart, and what they did yesterday was dumb.
Can I tell you what they're making a mistake on, having been on this side? This is where Trump's going to work against Trump. Trump thinks he is the best seller of Trump. And what we did in the Clinton years was President Clinton always said when the reporter says, look, I know what to the reporters, you have to do your job, but I have to do my job for the American people, and I'm going back to work. And we walled it off. Donald Trump is going to try to own and defend Donald Trump, and he's going to be the worst lawyer, the worst client, and he's already, his own instincts are working against him.
Here, last thing on this is from me is that may be true in part because he's had done that in the past, but that's different than what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you're the guy in charge, and he's got to know what's behind that whistleblower complaint.
Parties, there's peril and promise in how they handle it.
Exactly.
That's where we have to end it. Thanks, guys. Let's go to Michael.
Oh, I'm sorry we had to end that, George, but thank you very much. Well, we're going to turn now to that first winter storm of the season. It's on its way to the northern Rockies, where they are expecting up to 4 feet of snow and whiteout conditions. Rob is here tracking the latest, and Rob, winter's not coming. Winter is here.
It is. We went from fall at the beginning of this week and skipping ahead towards winter, at least for the northern west. This is potentially a historic snowfall. Look, a lot of blue on the map for this time of year. 4 states under winter storm watches. Winter storm warning for northern Montana. 2 feet, Great Falls, north and west. Could see over 4 feet in some spots. And this is going to affect some of the interstates, I-90, I-80 as well across the Sierra Nevadas with snow down to the past levels. So significant snowfall for September as well. On the warm side of this does have a severe weather threat. Talk more about that in a few minutes.
All right, we're not going to take that personally coming from you, Rob. Thanks. Now to the latest on the vaping crisis. The CDC reporting an alarming surge in new cases of lung illness. More than 800 people across 46 states and now at least 12 deaths possibly linked to vaping. TJ Holmes is here with more on this. Good morning, TJ.
Good morning, Cecilia. CDC is actually starting to use this word to describe what's happening. Outbreak. More and more people are showing up to ERs around the country with chest pain, coughing, nausea, and doctors are now in diagnosing them. The first thing they're starting to ask, do you vape? Now 805 probable cases of vape-related lung injuries, leaving at least 12 dead in 10 states. That's up from 7 deaths reported by the CDC just last week. North Carolina resident Andrew Doss started vaping in 2018 to help him quit smoking after 15 years.
I was surprised that at even getting a lung collapse. I mean, you just don't hear about that. And then to hear that it's due to vaping, and I figured that at worst, vaping was as bad for you as cigarettes.
Health officials say they can't connect these illnesses to any particular compound or product. The new figures also highlight a disproportional number of young people and men being affected. Nearly 3/4 are men. 2/3 are between the ages of 18 and 34. As emergency rooms across the country see more of these cases, doctors are enacting new measures to quickly identify potential illnesses.
I think it's important to ask the important questions. First off, have you been vaping or have you ever been vaping in the past several months or years? That really is the crux of the issue. If you fail to ask, you may kind of miss some of the early signs.
And the CDC recommendation now, if you don't vape, don't start. And for young people, guys, do not vape at all. And if you are vaping, stop right now.
All right, sounds like some good advice right there, TJ. Thank you so much. And now to a really powerful moment for Prince Harry. Let's take a look. The royal is in Angola, walking in his mother's footsteps, retracing the route Princess Diana once walked 22 years ago, visiting a minefield to champion the issue of landmine clearance. We're going to have much more on this coming up in our next hour.
So touching. We're following a lot of other stories this morning. New details about that Super Bowl halftime show. Michael's shaking it already. What Jennifer Lopez and Shakira are revealing, and is Jay-Z playing a role?
And the baggage handler arrested, accused of pulling off a major airport heist, stealing nearly $300,000. Now the money's missing. We're going to have the details on that hit. Now let's go to Rob.
We talked about snow, or in that time of year we get all sorts of weather. This is a flash flood yesterday along the California-Arizona border where they had 2-3 inches of rainfall in Blythe, California, shutting down some of the roadways there. The warm side of this system, boy, it's been warm across the southeast. Another front kind of bumping into that heat ridge, so we have a severe weather threat today. Kansas City, Kirksville, Davenport, Peoria, even getting up into Chicago potentially, damaging winds, large hail, and certainly the risk of seeing some flash flooding. Time now for your weekend getaway, brought to you by Walmart.
Let's take a look at that. Great concentration out of seat. He gets both feet in and out. A dominant performance here today. Hand off to the right side. Third and inches. What's your score?
No idea.
A fantastic Friday. Temperatures may be starting out a little cool, but we'll quickly get up to 70 degrees by late morning. 76 by noon today. Dry, comfortable with lots of sunshine much of the day today. 82 degrees at 4 p.m. when the sun sets. It'll be partly cloudy across the area, but definitely comfortable compared to the heat this weekend. We're at 91 Saturday. Could have a few passing showers and storms. 88 degrees on Sunday. Next weekend for Kid Fest, much cooler with highs around 70 degrees.
Covered nearly everything this morning except for leaves. Look at these beautiful foliage pictures out of New Hampshire. Is that not spectacular? Looks like George and Cecilia's colored dresses.
We're ready.
Yeah, we are ready for fall.
Right.
And we'll be right back.